Hi. Something that I think is interesting to think about is whether or not past Star Trek protagonists should come back. If Star Trek gets reboots, alternate universe sort of stuff, in shows and or films, there's a lot that could be done. But should it happen? Should there be other stuff like the 2009 Star Trek where it brings back old characters but has new performers for the characters? Well, I think it depends on the generation. I don't think that James T. Kirk should come back. Um, Unless they want to make him an antagonist, some kind of anti hero or character that the audience isn't supposed to root for. Because I think they could do that for James T. Kirk, although I do think a lot of Star Trek fans would get very mad, and that could lead to some divisive stuff, so that likely wouldn't be the best direction to take things in. But I really feel like James T. Kirk is not a character that ages well, particularly for a franchise that's so much about diversity as Star Trek and about being progressive and kind and compassionate. I feel like James T. Kirk doesn't really fit very well with that. So I think moving past from him, not really bringing him back, would likely be for the best. But I do really like Spock, so I feel like if they could do something where they ignore James T. Kirk, have a thing where Spock exists in new continuity if they get a reboot, but James T. Kirk just isn't around, isn't brought up. I feel like they could do something like that. That could be cool. Should the next generation stuff be rebooted? I think it could work. I think it would be very risky because the next generation and Picard are the best stuff in Star Trek, the two best shows. So I could imagine it being hard to do. Finding a way to reboot characters like Jean-Luc Picard, William T. Riker, and Data could be incredibly hard. But if it were to happen, I would want to give it a chance. I think that there will never be somebody that could play Jean Luc Picard as well as Patrick Stewart. But if they wanted to reboot it and they were allowed to recast, and I assume they would be, and of course, if they can, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about how contract stuff works. I'm assuming since they've had newer actors for the characters from the or first Star Trek show, I'm assuming they could do that for the next generation too. And so if they want to do a thing where they had new performers playing Jean-Luc Picard, Worf, Geordi LaForge, Beverly Crusher, Deanna Troy, I would want to give the new performers a chance, and I wouldn't likely go in thinking they could top the next generation performers or be on quite the same level. But there is a chance there could be some new performers that could do great jobs and eventually have careers outside of Star Trek and or could stick around Star Trek and do amazing things for an entire generation. That could be amazing. It could be great to see a new take on Q. I think it'd be incredibly hard to top John Delancey, but I do think there are a lot of really fun, charismatic performers that could do something great with Q. I would love to see a new take on Tasha Yar because I love her and I want to see her get more to do. And I would love to see a reboot of The Next Generation where Tasha Yar either sticks around longer than The Next Generation and eventually has a big heroic moment towards the end of the series and then the characters honor her, or see her stick around for the entire story and see what it'd be like if Tasha Yar was part of the main group throughout. I think that would be amazing. And the next generation struggled a little bit in the first couple seasons, even though I do like them. And it could be interesting to see a reboot of the next generation that knows what it's doing from the beginning. So there's a lot they could do. For Voyager, I really like Voyager. Reboot could be interesting. Not too big of a fan of Deep Space Nine from what I've seen, but I could imagine a reboot being good. Enterprise could be a fun one to reboot. I think Enterprise is underrated, so I think that rebooting Star Trek is a risk, but I do think there's a lot of potential. And I don't think that the Star Trek franchise needs to either follow the same continuity forever or do the soft reboot sort of thing that I think the 2009 film did. I think if they wanted to have a fully brand new reboot with new takes on the characters, that could potentially be really interesting. And I think it's something that should have an open mind about, because it's possible that it could end up being an underwhelming take on Star Trek, but there's also the potential for it to be great and for it to have a lot of the same wonderful qualities of what's come before and even some new stuff that's wonderful to see.